Hi everyone, in this video we are going to introduce you to the Uncode Page Builder and how to work with it. Uncode is based on an enhanced version of the popular WP Bakery Page Builder for front-end or back-end page creation. This enhanced version is clean and simple to use, yet extremely powerful, and it gives designers an incredible amount of flexibility. Uncode Page Builder is based on a slider feature-rich grid system, and it's based on about 30 powerful modules. Some of the larger modules feature more than 100 options that can be combined in every possible way. This is impressive, and this is one of the reasons Uncode is so popular. Fewer but more powerful modules mean greater flexibility. It's that simple, period. There is a module for almost everything. You have the Posts module, with which you can show your blog posts, your portfolio or your products, both as a grid and as a carousel. There is the Media Gallery module to create galleries of images and media, both video and audio. You have the Modules heading, text, image, button, and icon box with which to create your content, and many other modules for specific functions such as tabs, accordions, contact form, maps, progress bar, and pie chart, just to name a few. In addition to the modules, there are many advanced options, such as the animation effects that can be applied to all elements. There are the shape dividers, with which you can create attractive separators between the various sections of the page, and there are dynamic options to make the content dynamic based on the context in which they are used. Uncode comes with two page builder modes, the Backend Editor and the Frontend Editor. There are interface and workflow differences, but they both use the same rows, columns, elements, controls, and options. With the Frontend Editor, you edit your content directly on the front end of your website. You can see your layout as you build it, and any changes you make update immediately as you make them. While the Backend Builder is a backend schematic editor that allows you to build content quickly. You design and lay out your pages as you wish using the easy-to-use drag-and-drop editor, and then preview the result in a new window. The content that both builders generate is also identical, and so there is full compatibility. One does not exclude the other, and both can be used together. The choice is up to the user. Depending on the tasks, you can choose to use one or the other editor. This is really interesting because you are not bound to one mode like other page builders. The Page Builder is not available only for pages, but also for blog posts, portfolios, products, and possible extra custom post types. If you don't have the Page Builder other than in the pages, remember to activate the role settings in the dedicated options. Navigate to the WP Bakery Page Builder Role Manager and activate the option for all the custom post types. OK, now the Page Builder is available for all post types. Let's start by discovering the Backend Editor, which is a necessary step before going to the much-anticipated Frontend Editor. When we are inside a page, you have two buttons, the Backend Editor and the Frontend Editor buttons. By clicking on the Backend Editor button, you switch between the Page Builder or the classic editor of WordPress alternatively. The interface is very simple and intuitive. On the left, there is the plus button to add a new module in the page, and the button to open the templates. With the wireframe plugin active, is extended by more than 400 section templates ready to be imported. On the right, there are the history arrows, the full screen mode for focusing on the edit without distracting elements, and the custom CSS settings, where you can, if necessary, add custom codes. In the central part, there are the same functionality already seen on the toolbar. On the left, there is the button to add a module and, if the Wireframes plugin is active, the button that opens the wireframe tool with more than 400 sections ready to be imported. So let's try adding an element. In this window named Add Module, there is the list of all the elements that are part of the page builder. Uncode modules are divided into 4 categories: content, structure, WordPress widgets, and WooCommerce if WooCommerce is active. The first element in the list is the row. Let's insert it into the page. Row is one of the most important elements. In fact, it represents the main load-bearing structure of the page. For each row, you can define how many columns and what width to assign to each column. You can have a row with a single column or a row with several columns inside it. Rows and columns define the grid of the page, so called in web design. In fact, the structure of a web page is defined by a series of different rows and columns that act as containers for the page elements. The side buttons are the row controls, while the buttons at the bottom are the column controls. When using the Page Builder, remember that in each window you will find the specific settings for that element itself, and the options will only affect that element and not all similar ones on the page. Every time you see the plus symbol, you can add an element. For example, let's add a text element, and also let's add a heading module. I insert here our heading text. Here we are. Please note that elements can be dragged both within the same column and into other columns, so there is complete freedom to move every element. When you pass over an element, the element's control becomes visible. From here, it's possible to duplicate the element, delete it, or open specific properties. Well, now we can add a new single media module to the page. In the configuration window, it's possible to choose an image from the media library. I also set the single media aspect ratio to 4:3. Let's save the page and view what we have created. As you can see, we have created with a few clicks the most classic of the sections: a heading, a text, and an image. We understand from this simple example the power of the Page Builder to create own layouts or modify existing ones imported with the demo contents. Now that we've introduced the basic concepts of the Backend Editor, we can introduce the amazing Frontend Editor. It's possible to launch the Frontend Editor mode from the button at the top of any admin page or from the button found in the WordPress top toolbar when previewing a page. I launch the Frontend Editor and wait for a moment while the interface is loading. Here we are on the Frontend Editor. The Frontend Editor allows you to edit your pages on the front end of your website. You can see the changes you make to your elements in real time and your design coming to life. When you hover over the elements, the controls are visible. Of course, all the editing operations we saw in the Backend Editor, such as duplicating an element, deleting it, dragging it to another position, or changing its properties, are also possible in the Frontend Editor. The workflow, modules, and options are the same as in the Backend Editor. The only thing that really differentiates it from a front-end page is the toolbar along the top. You can choose the classic top toolbar layout or the compact sidebar mode. This minimalist approach allows you to see your content and layout clearly, without any distracting element. Which option to use is a personal choice depending on your tastes or needs at the time. The row and column controls are associated and can be switched with a simple click. If you're not familiar with the Frontend Editor, you may find the Safe mode useful. When this mode is activated, all controls and grids become visible to help you visualize the grid and controls. Let's proceed with a few simple operations. Take them as an example to understand the workflow. I do not dwell on specific functions that are explained in other videos. Let's increase the padding of the row so that the contents will have more breadth. I'm also slightly increasing the distance between the columns. That's perfect. Let's add a button and modify the button text. I open the module selection. I select the button module and, in the text option, I modify the text. Now I open the column options and set the vertical align to middle. Perfect. In addition to duplicating individual elements, we can also duplicate rows and then easily replicate entire sections of content. So let's duplicate this row. Perfect. Let's change the order of the columns, so to create a specular layout. Now let's edit the image by uploading another one from the media library. I open the media selection. Here's our new image. Let's add the media and save the single media module. Here we are. Since we also changed the text of the second heading, we open the options of this module heading and paste the new text. For example, now I can change the background color of our second row so that we can differentiate it with the first. I open the settings of the row and in the Style tab, I apply a light grey background color. Here now the rows are more identifiable. Let's add a new row with a background image to create a simple header. I add a new row. I open the settings. In the options, set its height to 70%. And in the background options, I insert a background image. I open the media selection. I think I can use this image. Yep, let's use this one. And I save the module settings. Activate the parallax effect for the image so that you have a slight movement that will liven up the scroll. As you can see, the background scrolls with a different speed from the page. I set an overlay level that I will use to better contrast the text that I will insert. Let me try 25%. Better 50% of opacity. OK. Now I open the column settings and I set the vertical position to middle and the text alignment to center, so that the heading will be centered both vertically and horizontally at the row. Now, since we need a white heading text to contrast with the background image, let's set the column skin option to dark. If you haven't watched the video tutorial dedicated to skins, I suggest you to check it. This option applies the dark skin to the contents of the column and will make all the contents automatically adapt to a dark background. For example, we'll have a white heading text color. I insert a new heading. You can see that the color automatically contrasts with the background, and I modify some typographic options to create our heading. That's it. At this point, I can drag this new row at the top of the Our Page Contents rows. Here we have created a very simple header. Great, we have created our first layout. For those who prefer to work with the Frontend Editor, we have created some convenient keyboard shortcuts that can speed up your workflow in the Frontend Builder. Don't underestimate the power of these shortcuts. When used during the design workflow, they can make a big difference. Alt+D, change tab forward. Alt+A, change tab backward. Alt+S, save the actual options window. And Alt+W, close the actual options window. Although the operations seen so far are very simple, these give us the idea of the simplicity and flexibility of the Page Builder that you can use to create completely custom layouts or modify the layouts that can be imported with the demo contents. You just need to discover all the options of each module of the Page Builder, and there will be no limits to your creativity.